Kia ora, and welcome to Without Borders, your fortnightly dose of real people, real conversations, and a little bit of real estate. Hello, I'm William Tartiner of Team William Tartiner at the Ray White Damerel Group. Now, I've had a rich and colourful career in the UK, Australia, and New Zealand, and I've met some wonderful people along the way who have contributed and shaped me into the person that I am today. I'd like to share those people with you, because we can all learn and be better human beings. Without Borders will inform, educate, and entertain you over 20 minutes. Good people who have a story to share and a lesson to learn. Well, today my guest is Karl Martin, who's the business owner of Growth Matters. So, Karl, welcome today to Without Borders. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, good. Thanks, William. Good to see you.
Yeah. Hey, listen, tell us a little about your background so our audience just gets to know who you are.
Yeah, look, I would call myself a generalist in business. I started out life or training as an accountant. So that was my background, accounting and finance through university. But I found very quickly, for me, that was a language of business. It was too much backward-looking and not enough forward-looking at that point in time. And so very quickly moved into other areas where I could be looking more at what the business was going to be doing to create value for themselves versus looking back and measuring what they'd done in the past.
I know that you love the outdoors. Yes. And I know you love fishing and hiking and tramping, or tramping in New Zealand. Hiking is an American term. But you volunteer for the Land, Sea and Rescue.
Yeah,
so tell me about all that.
Look, I think it's important that we all find a way to be supporting our communities. And for me, that came about through my love for the outdoors. You know, I love, as you say, hunting and fishing and a bit of four-wheel driving. And I've got a good mate who was part of search and rescue, and he knew that I'd been a volunteer in the fire service years earlier, and said, "Come have a look at what we're doing over here." And it's been awesome. It's a great group of people, training really hard, committed to being ready to get out and help people when they are in need. And so it's a good discipline. It's a humbling discipline, but it's awesome to be involved in good people and get out. Doing something that's passion aligned. I do love being outdoors. So.
No, very good. Yeah. What's been one of the either funniest stories or a story that you could tell from that where you've sort of had like a real positive outcome? Or
look, it's one of those service areas where there's lots of really interesting stories in the moment. Mm-hmm. But really it's all about getting the team together and getting positive outcomes where we can for people.
So what's the one that stands out for you?
It can be quite difficult to talk about some of that, as you'd appreciate. There can be
sensitive stuff.
Yeah.
But in general terms,
in general terms, look, it's been awesome being out with the police, hooning down beaches on the back of buggies, and being up rock faces, and all the things that you do outdoors to achieve an objective when there is someone requiring assistance somewhere. No worries. Where it comes into a really sensitive situation, how do all the guys and girls that are involved, how do you all cope with that after you come? Because it would be in some circumstances, it'd be pretty distressing. Oh, look, the services have got that pretty well wrapped up. Yeah, they've got good support around.
Good support around that.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's really good.
Yeah.
In your career, you have been involved with growth and recovery.
Yeah.
Can you sort of give us a real background on that and what has your processes been? Because everybody has to be taken through a process, particularly if you're wanting to make a business better, cause a growth to be better, and also your profit margin to be better as well.
Yeah. What I found over the years is, particularly for smaller and medium-sized businesses, there is often a disconnect or a misalignment between what people are actually trying to achieve or what they want to achieve and the way that they've got their business set up. So for me, it's critical to understand actually what do they want. It's not always about being bigger. Oftentimes it is about right-sizing the business.
Right.
And oftentimes it is about identifying what gaps they have in their knowledge and experience in running that business to help them through the thing. But yeah, I've found that growth and recovery has been really my space for the last more than 15 years. So
Wow.
Yeah, it's a cool space. And recently, as you know, recently the last 5-6 years, specifically focused on the trades.
Trades, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you 2 questions here. So one question is from your past on the growth and recovery aspect. Give us an example where you were involved with a business.
Yep.
And where they were at, and where did they get to after your involvement?
Yeah. Okay. So an example, we had an private education facility that had lost quite a bit of money. The business owners were at the point where they were deciding whether or not they wound that entity up, or whether they continued in business. So I went in there with them and then had a look at what they were doing, had a look at the strategy they've been running, and could see that there was some opportunity, but it required commitment from their part. So we ultimately got that across the line. They were prepared to dig in and do that.
Yep.
And over the course of 3 years, they grew more than 120% on revenue, and they went from losses to very significant profits in the millions. So it was quite a successful.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Right.
That was good.
No worries. Now, in the Growth Matters, where you've been more or less coaching tradies for the last, 5 years, isn't it?
Yep.
5.
Yep.
What would be an example where you've had a real influence and they've listened to you? Because not every person is coachable.
Yeah, that's right.
But they've listened to you, and then they've moved forward, and what's the outcome? Can you give us an example of that?
Yeah, good. Look, it's one of the really cool things about the trades is typically they're all about get shit done. So when you've got someone that is focused on their business and they can see the light that you're presenting through some of the opportunities for their business, they'll get on and get it done. And so an example would be a painter we've got in Christchurch. He had lost quite a bit of money in the preceding periods, and only because he didn't really fully understand how the margin was working in his business. And inside 6 months, we turned that from being loss-making to being very significantly profit-making.
Amazing.
Yeah, so he had opportunity to go on and buy his first house.
Wow.
And the team has been growing very successfully, so he's doing very well.
Very good. When you decided to start Growth Matters, why did you start it? You obviously saw something that's in the market. Tell us a little bit about your journey on starting Growth Matters.
Yeah. So I was working with an Auckland tertiary provider that was very strong in the trade space, and they had a number of challenges across some of their trades teams. So I was working there. Effectively, I'd gone in as a change agent to help sort some issues out.
Sure.
Through that process and through some review of what was happening in the trades education space around the world, I saw that there was quite an opportunity for business owners to be better supported from a growth perspective, or if they'd got themselves up the creek without a paddle, how could they recover? There are providers around New Zealand that are specialists in trades, and there are a lot of business coaches that say, "Hey, yeah, I can look after the trades." But I found that actually what the gap that was missing was more about that personal, accessible, one-on-one focus on their business to achieve what they needed.
Okay.
The trades in New Zealand, they get a great education, but it's all focused on the trade. None of it is focused on business. So oftentimes you'll hear tradies saying, "Hey, I'm just a tradie. I don't know anything about business." Typically they do, but there will be gaps in their knowledge and experience. So it's about identifying that and helping them to fill that in a way that is comfortable for them in their space at their time. So with that identified, we've got on and tried to support really good tradies right around the country. So we offer support for people everywhere. Obviously, we can't always meet face to face depending on where they are. But yeah, we've been servicing clients all over the country.
Right. So if there are any tradies out there listening at the moment, you really need to get a hold of Karl, and we'll let you know how we do that at the very end. When you started Growth Matters, who helped you the most?
it's really important to have a good team a bit around you. So my wife really was the biggest support early on. She had seen the results we're getting for other businesses and said, hey, look, we should really be doing this, or you should be doing this for us. And we'd dabbled in a few other areas over the years and made some mistakes along the way, as you do. Typical Kiwis, we tend to like to have side gigs and do the thing.
There's a lot we can do with a number 8 wire.
There is. And in my case, it was aluminium. But we went, okay, well, look, there is a need here. How do we provide this in a way that is really adding value to the space? Tested a lot of models, got a lot of good people around me. As you know, it's really important to have really good, like-minded people around you that are both supportive, critical, but uplifting as well, so that you can really get on and do the thing that you do. I guess having really good teams around you, having really good people around you, and getting yourself a mentor. I have a mentor of my own. So getting yourself a mentor that can help you unpack everything so that you're not just relying on your own opinion all the time.
Okay, that's really good. What would be the biggest challenge that you would face now in business going forward from here?
For me or for my market?
No, for your market.
For my market.
We'll separate that into two parts, your business and your market, because we've just been through basically 2 years of hell, really.
It's been unprecedented. And the trades have... some would argue that the trades have done okay through this, and some have. It's been a tale of two markets. But the trades have been just as affected as most businesses in New Zealand, particularly those in Auckland that have been locked down, whilst there was people doing services where it was absolutely required. Most tradies couldn't do the thing that they would do. So biggest challenge at the moment for the tradies, let's assume for a minute that business can happen and there won't be any more major challenges or new events that require people not to be working, but is supply. There is a big logistics issue at the moment.
Sure.
You'll hear everybody around the place, particularly on the construction infrastructure side, talking around jib supply, even wood supply, floor joists and the like. There's a lot of things that are challenged at the moment. So. There are talks of that stuff coming back on stream, but at the moment there is quite a supply issue around that, and that's having a flow-on effect to the rest of the trades. Where projects are due to be, having the sparkies go in and getting the wiring in first, setting up, they could be delayed. Certainly they can't fit off at the end. Same with plumbers. It's quite the challenge. So people are having to find ways to be a little more flexible. Some people are just having to suck it up and move things around as best they can. People are moving around to other areas of the industry that they haven't typically serviced. So it's quite fluid for a lot of people.
Okay.
So my sense is that supply issue is going to have a roll-on effect for the rest of this year, and people need to be really careful about what they're doing. There are some key things that they should be looking at in their business to ensure that they're not impacted too much, or as little as they can be.
And keeping your expenses in check as well.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, cash is king at the moment. Make sure that you're collecting your money fast, and you're paying your bills, but you're collecting your money faster.
How do you handle setbacks in business?
This has been a point to ponder for a lot of people over the last couple of years, hasn't it? Look, my philosophy is really to control what's controllable. You do get people out there who are really worriers, and at times things do impact you differently, and things impact you where you think maybe they wouldn't have impacted you. But for my mind, it's what can I control? What can I do about it? If I can't, well, okay, we just deal with it. But what can we control? What can we impact? How do we positively move forward from whatever situation that we're in? Because you can't control everything. Normally in the trades area, you're buying materials, and you're doing the work, and then you invoice. And obviously, particularly if you're a subcontractor, sometimes your money doesn't necessarily come through straight away. So what are there other alternatives to keep the cash flow going, but also at the same time making sure that you're going to recover your
the debt that's owed to you.
Yeah. Look, for smaller guys, there is a temptation to be signing up to contracts where they see a profit at the end of it. They might jump in without contracts, thinking that they're going to get that profit. And time and again, I've seen people come unstuck. They get held up by cash flow issues on the head contractor side, or they get held up by all manner of things.
Sure.
So I guess the biggest thing there is ensure you've got the right contracts in place.
Right.
If you are in that construction side, make sure it's under the Construction Contracts Act. Get a good lawyer to help you set that up if you haven't got it through your building teams. Because if you don't have it set up right and you don't operate appropriately under the Act, you're just not going to see your money, and you're going to have very limited opportunities to be defending yourself and collecting your money.
Sure. Going back to what's controllable, how I'll just unpack that for a minute. So, like, in other words, if I know that I've got a few – look, human nature likes to procrastinate. They like putting it off, like, I don't see that. Yes, I'm aware of it, but I don't see it kind of thing. What do I need to do? Do I need to write down and clearly look at everything and look at it face on, take responsibility? How do you do all that?
Yeah, well, look, let's have a think about that at the moment for, say, a medium-sized operator. What can they control? They've got some fixed costs that they've got in their business, things that are always going to be happening. They can be looking at some of those and seeing what opportunity there is to reduce some of those. They could be having a whole lot of redundant capacity within their business. Right. So typically that will come from a labour perspective.
Yes.
So that's where it's really important to go, okay, let's have a look at why I'm doing the thing, what it is that I'm trying to achieve, and then trying to tie that back to right size the business. If actually I'm trying to get to, say, $250,000 profit, let's go for a smaller crowd. What size of operation do I actually need? Do I need all of these people that I've got on board to be doing that? Is there inefficiencies in the way that I am taking the revenue that I'm getting in the top and turning it into profit at the end of the day? Oftentimes there is.
Yes.
Now people will say, hey, yes, but I've got ups and downs and peaks and troughs in all of my operations and all of the work that comes through. Yes. But what size do you need this to be at, and how do we make that most efficient? There are things that you can do to be doing that, but we need to look at that on a case by case basis.
Sure.
But yeah, so look at their costs, look at what fixed costs they've got, look at whether or not they're carrying any redundant capacity,
right,
and really look at their cash flow practices as well.
When you engage business owners, how do you define a coachable business owner? What are you looking for?
Yeah, good question. Thankfully, within the trades, most often I'm finding real people. Now, what I mean by that, real people who have real, communities that they're part of. They've probably got families. They've got real ambitions, and they've got solid ambitions. They often have a sense of what they want. They may not be able to tell you straight away what they want, and that's okay. We've got a really great process that can help pull that out so that they can really identify what they truly want. But they've got to be real. They've got to have a good head on their shoulders.
Right.
This is not all about jet planes and Ferraris. This is about how do we build a solid business that achieves what it is that I want to achieve over the period of time that I want to be doing it. I like people to be building saleable businesses. If it's a saleable business, it's a profitable business, and they're going to achieve the outcomes that they want. But how big do I want this thing? Why do I want it to be that big? If they can be starting to articulate some of those things when we're talking, and typically it can come up over a beer or over a coffee or just on the phone, when you start to hear those things and you see that real connection to what it is that they're doing, you see the passion for what they're doing, then it's fantastic. It's like, okay, cool. We've got someone here that has the ability to be taking some of the stuff on and get stuff done. And
part of your process, obviously, that once you've got unpacked that and they have started to articulate what they are looking to do for the future, because most of the tradies that I know, they've all got families or they've got a partner or whatever.
Yeah.
There's always ambition in there, what they want to do next. What do you set the goals for them to achieve, like per quarter or half year, or how do you set it out?
typically, particularly with the smaller tradies, I don't go so formal as initially putting 90-day plans in place. We could be doing their 90-day plan. We could be doing their 3-5 year vision and so on and so forth. But what I find actually is tying it back to what they're trying to achieve, usually for their family, usually for their personal surrounding incomes, tying it back to that in a way that describes that rather than describing, hey, we must have done this and this and this by this time.
Sure.
We achieve the same thing, and if we were to go back and review what they're doing, they'll go, oh, but we've been doing this 90-day planning process by subterfuge. Yeah. And that's what it's about. This is not about saying, hey, let's go back to school and learn this. It's actually, we'll just learn it, and you'll realize that you've got it.
Okay, excellent. Tell me the difference between margin and markup.
Yes, this is a really good one. A lot of people, I see too many people trip themselves up on this. So margin is the profit effectively, or what's left after you've paid for the costs, the direct costs on a job. Markup is what people often talk about when they buy, say, a supply. Let's say that they're buying a packet of, they're buying a whole load of jib. They're getting it for X dollars, and they're adding a markup to that.
Yes.
Now, the reason it's really important for people to distinguish between the two is if they're talking about margin, but actually they mean markup, they're going to do themselves out of a whole lot of profit. And sometimes there can be the difference between them making a margin or losing money. Mm-hmm. So, for example, let's go real simple numbers. If something were to cost someone $100, right, and they're going to sell it on to their customer, and they're going to put a markup of 100% on. 100% of $100 is $100. So 100 plus 100 is $200. They're going to have, they're going to sell it to somebody for $200. Now, if we take that $200, take away the cost, which was $100, that leaves us with $100. Mm-hmm. And our margin is $100 divided by our sale price of $200. So that's 50%. Mm-hmm. Now, if they think that they've got a margin of 100%, and suddenly find that they've got a margin of 50%, that can be incredibly impactful negatively. So really understanding how those margins and markups work within your business, and whether or not you are talking about margin or markup is critical. And as I said, I've seen this trip up people all the time, and even people who are well versed in it or really understand how that impacts their business can get tripped up again.
Sure.
Some parts of the industry are talking about cost plus markup. Some people will talk about cost plus margin. They're very different things. Which number are you talking about, and how impactful is that going to be on your profit?
Before we go today, can you give us one key learning, particularly if there are tradespeople or tradespeople who are business owners who are maybe listening today? What would be the one key learning that you would like to put across to them? Look, we don't know everything. Mm-hmm. That's okay. We are all very skilled in the areas that we service and in the areas that we have experience in. We don't know what we don't know. If you can get your head around that, then it allows you to say, well, actually, I probably need some help in this area. We all need help, and people around us who can gift us visibility of those holes and help us fill them. And the sooner we can do that, the sooner we will fill those holes, and actually we'll move forward through that particular issue. So for the tradies, oftentimes it's, I'm not a businessman. Cool. There are people out there who you can surround yourself with who are. Get your peers and colleagues around who are doing really well in business to talk about it. Or get yourself a great business coach. And so with Growth Matters, we're all about the trades. We are focused on the trades, and we're looking for great growth across New Zealand for the trades. Oh, very good. Karl, how do people find you? Tell us how they can get in contact. Yeah, look, they can jump on our website, or even better, jump on Insta and DM us. We're at Growth Matters NZ on Instagram. We find that it's a great platform to be having good conversations with the trades. So jump on, come and follow us, come and say hi. If you follow through some of our links, there's even opportunity there for you to pick up a free bar blade that you can take to the barbie on the weekend. But get yourself a bottle opener. No, very good. Good stuff. Well, Karl Martin, owner of Growth Matters, particularly for coaching the tradies. Thank you very much today for being on Without Borders.
Great. Thanks, William.
Thanks for listening to Without Borders and my special guest today. If you need help on your property journey or to be a guest on the podcast, I'd love to talk. Just get in touch at teamwilliamtartner.co.nz. Join me in another 2 weeks for another episode of Without Borders.